All right, we are ready to go. We can jump to slide 2. So it's in your email that Susie sent, I think really confirming this meeting and communicating about this meeting, a number of resources were sent to you. And you can see here the agenda. We're going to start out talking about those documents and resources. Those are for you. Those are for ADs in your section tournaments, and also certainly for the coaches to use as well. We're going to have Laura here and Tim to talk a little bit about website resources, communications that will get pushed out regarding our section tournament. Talk some deadlines for top 10 rankings and certified lineups done through tennis reporting. Just a few other tournament management keys, and just a brief bit of information about those that do qualify for the state tournament. Also have Rick on the call. Maybe I think Hal was maybe going to join us. Not sure if he's on the call. But any questions as kind of our state tournament managers, they could assist and probably be maybe a little bit more helpful as I continue to grow in this role as the tennis liaison here at the staff. So we can go to the next slide, Susie. So the documents and resources, again, found on the AD and coach dashboard. You can find your tennis manager's guide. So the things we talk about today, most of which you can find in that guide, probably in a little bit more detail and with maybe better explanation. We're going to just provide a high level overview today. But I do want to honor your ability as tournament managers. Many of you have done this before. And also honor your ability to browse information and go through that information when it's most convenient for you. The tennis rules and policies, that's also on the dashboard pages for coaches, for ADs. This is a great document, not only for tennis, but for every sport. Whenever there are questions, this is always a great place to look first. And it's something that I've been reminded of a number of times in this role at the league office. But there's a lot of great information there. The number of matches you can play, how you qualify, or the numbers that you qualify to the state tournament, what to do when play gets suspended, all of those sorts of things generally can be found in tennis rules and policies. Reminder that we use, other than a few rule modifications, we use the USTA Friend at Court for our rules and regulations. That also is linked in your dashboard and will be a useful tool as well. And then transfer of care forms and emergency action plans for your specific tournament sites. So if you need to get those documents out to site managers, again, each unique site is going to have different access points and different bits of information in terms of responding to some sort of emergency that could happen. And so be prepared and make sure your sites are prepared to respond. And again, if you're playing at host schools, most ADs, have emergency action plans for their own tennis team. It's probably going to look very similar. But maybe your points of contact are going to look different because it's more of a neutral site for the teams that are involved. Susie, anything to add there about those documents that you've sent or that are sitting in those dashboards?
Miriam is for me today because I'm doing the MSHSL piece today.
Sorry, needed to quick mute. Nope, I don't have anything to add on that. If anybody has trouble finding anything, reach out to me and let me know. Happy to help.
Great. And I know they were in the email. And again, I think we'd really love to train folks to, to use that dashboard. If there's something that's missing or something that should be included in there that will help you as tournament managers, let us know and we can assign those documents and resources accordingly. We can go to the next slide. And here I'm going to toss this over to Laura just to talk a little bit about the kind of the tournament setup from a website and communications perspective. just knowing that, we have interested folks out there, wherever out there is that want to follow our tournament and be informed about them. So Laura, I'm going to hand this off to you. Is Laura
Laura?
muted?
Yeah, Laura, you're
Yep,
on
Laura's mute. Laura's muted.
How about that? Good afternoon, everyone. And again, thanks for the work that you do to make our section tournaments successful. At the top of this page, you'll see the shortcut link to get to the website Tournament Personnel Guide. It is also linked on your tournament personnel dashboard, but you can get there bit.ly-msHSL-TP. Looks long, but again, all it is Minnesota State High School League tournament personnel. And in that, you'll find directions on how to do number 1 and 3 on this list. Number 2 for tennis folks looks a little bit different. Number 1 is to make sure that you and your region secretary work together to complete the information about the dates and venues for your section tournament. When you enter that information, as it shows on page 4 of the tournament guide, that information feeds to a number of places throughout the website, both publicly and on the back side for us in our office and others to use. It is where the public sees the dates and venues, but also gives us information about where your tournaments are happening. So between you and your region secretary, you both have access to that. Make sure that that is accurate. Number 2, and this is for every tournament, but here's what it looks like in tennis. League staff, we will add your brackets to the public.
Well, that was it. I appreciate you canceling
For
for tomorrow
section
and
events. Your brackets will be updated through tennis reporting and automatically pushed to the website. So you need to do nothing on the State High School League website for your brackets. You do that through tennis reporting, and we will make them show up on the State High School League website. The final thing, number three addresses the information that you share with coaches and ADs about your section tournament. So that might be a schedule that you share with them. It might be guidelines for participating at a certain school that you're at, where they should enter, where the restrooms will be, what they will have for facilities, kind of those tournament management type documents that a coach and an AD need to have access to, but the public doesn't. So on pages 8+ of that guide, it shows you how to post those section event resources to coaches and ADs for them to see. Those are not seen by the public. So again, when you think about your audience, those show up only for those folks with dashboards. One way to think about that is, 10 years ago, you might have emailed those things to coaches. If you were running a tournament 20 years ago, you probably put those things in an envelope and mailed them to a coach prior to your section event. Now we have the ability to put those right on that coach and AD's dashboard so that everything they need is in one spot. And they're not trying to find that email or that document, but they know it's always posted to their dashboard. So again, the website tournament personnel dashboard, you have the instruction sheet, and then referenced here, pages 4 is where you can check your dates, and page 5 is where you can add that information for schools that are participating. Tennis reporting information will come directly, I believe, probably through Susie or tennis reporting to get you into your section tournament to be able to update those brackets there. Susie or Charlie, anything else that you want me to mention? Otherwise, I'll turn it back to you.
I don't have anything, Laura.
I'm good.
Great.
Quick question on the tennis reporting. How soon will we get our logins for that as a section manager? I know last year it was later than I guess it was in the previous year?
Andy, that was a question I just asked Susie. We've been in contact, so if you haven't gotten it, you'll get it really soon. We'll follow up today and make sure we know when that's being sent.
Oh, Andy, I'll reach out to him today. I talked to him early this week and I thought he said that was something that they were working on. So I'll just check in and make sure where we're at with that.
Sounds good. Thanks.
As Laura just kind of alluded to, wrapping up and Andy's question, you will be getting the login instructions for tennis reporting and able to access that. Coaches have likely been inputting their results over the course of the season, kind of in real time as matches complete. But know that we're also using tennis reporting to determine our top 10 singles rankings and then the 3 certified lineups for team play. And just know that if you are the section manager, this responsibility is yours to work with schools ADs and our coaches to make sure that these deadlines are met. Use myself or Susie if necessary, but your work on the front end is going to be really helpful for us maintaining these deadlines. So you can see those here on the screen. And we had a little confusion if you're a veteran tennis manager from the fall in the girls tournament. We had a little bit of confusion over the process, and we've cleaned it up here for the boys, at least in terms of what we are communicating and what is actually being done. They're actually the same this season versus last season. So what coaches are going to submit are both their top 10 singles rankings and their certified lineups, right? They're up to 3. They don't have to do 3, but up to 3 certified lineups. Those are going to be submitted by 4 o'clock on Monday, May 9th. We've got a little bit of window built in to make sure that if coaches submitted things incorrectly, windows where somebody didn't get something submitted, whatever that circumstance might be, we're going to release those rankings and lineups on May 11th for review, and you must have approval by Friday, May 13th at 4 p.m. The top 10 rankings can be challenged by just a simple majority of coaches. You can provide an opportunity for coaches to defend those rankings if they are challenged. I'm hopeful that this process, though, will be pretty straightforward for our coaches and for you as section tournament managers. Maybe I'll just pause there and just see if there are any questions on that process.
Charlie, I would just like to add that the deadline for getting them in is, 4 p.m. on Monday the 9th. And we use that little window of opportunity there to chase down anybody that didn't submit. So the goal is get them in by the deadline, so that we're chasing down few, because there's always the concern with tennis that releasing lineups and rankings for others to view is a problem if not all of them are in there. So we're not actually tennis reporting isn't actually going to release them until we've made sure that everybody has done those. Yep.
Susie,
And,
can I interject?
Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
Because I was still in office at the time. The tennis coaches wanted to have a specific window when things were turned in, so other coaches weren't finding out what others had for a lineup. And so that's why they came up with this week. So there was a purpose for it.
Yep.
And I would just say too, as you work with your schools and coaches, in the fall tournament, COVID was felt a lot different and was a larger concern. But you might have an athlete that A, tests positive for COVID, B, has an injury, but they're expected to come back at some point during that section tournament. They should be included in the top 10 ranking in their spot where they would fall in that ranking. And then if they're not available, that's where an alternate would be plugged in. to that lineup. So if coaches have that question, again, if they expect an athlete to return at any time during the section or possibly state tournament, they should be included in that top 10 ranking. Go to the next slide, Susie, as long as there's no more
I've
questions.
got one question if I could.
Yeah,
Dave Gunderson or Rock Ridge, I guess.
good to see you, Dave.
Nice to see you, Charlie. I'm getting a lot of questions from the coaches in our region on how that date was picked, because like you said earlier, and I really appreciate that, I don't think any of our teams have been outside yet. And a lot of the makeup matches are actually going into the next week for them to see different teams. So some of our coaches up there might not even see an opponent in the region until after the 9th because of makeups already and all of that. So that was a question I said I'd bring up because that was asked of me. So.
And I'm going to quickly defer to Rick, who I think was part of the process of coming up with those deadlines. So I'll do that.
That was part of the advisory staff making the decision of having it done because there's some sections who start their tournaments earlier than others. So you had to pick a date before, because some will start right after Friday the 13th that next week. So there had to be a date picked that it could be done within a week. And so that's the week that was picked.
Okay.
Yep, we have section tournaments starting as soon as May 16th.
Yep.
Yeah. And I just appreciate that you consider we're about 3 weeks behind anybody south of Hinckley probably. So they just have a lot crushed in, and that was a concern of about 3 or 4 coaches is we won't even see an opposing team until May 16th. So that I just said I'd bring it up, and just so you guys know, it was a concern up in our region. So
We'll appreciate you sharing that, Dave. And we just had a lead meeting today with ADs across Minnesota, and especially like you in the northern half, it's not only tennis that's being affected, by this as well. So
yeah.
we'll continue to stay in touch and share those concerns with us as they come to you.
Thank you.
A few of our tournament management keys, just make sure that you're establishing and communicating your chain of command from the site level to the tournament level to your region secretary. If necessary, then you utilize myself, Rick, or Hal. If you need to, work through any issues that are happening over the course of the tournament. Reminder that the official roster is going to be the 10 members from the singles rankings, and then 5 alternates. Again, just know that the policy that was established is that your alternates may only be used in 4 singles or 3 doubles. And so that's where they go in if they are to be used because of illness or injury, or one of the top 10 players is not available to play. The official roster consists for coaches consists of 3 school board approved coaches. The question we always get is even volunteer coaches. And from a high school league perspective, there's really no such thing as a volunteer coach. A coach is a coach is a coach. So these coaches, your school board should be aware of them. Your school board should have approved them, and they should have completed their online rules, their continuing education requirement, and be formally affiliated with each team. And a reminder that club coaches or private coaches are not allowed to coach during our section or state tournaments. Bylaw 2066 may be a little bit easier, I think, to monitor and or enforce in tennis. But this is a bylaw that states that students must be fully eligible to be on the bench or in the playing area. And so be aware of that rule. We do have a uniform rule that they are to be school approved uniforms. They are to be the exact same uniform We do allow hats or headwear if it is appropriate. And then just a note about weather, obviously a little more common in the girls tournament in the fall. But if it's really cold weather, we do allow some modification there to protect the student athlete and to help them stay warm. And also a reminder that we do not allow a full warm up on the site of the tournament on the prior to the first match of the first day. We will give the normal 15-minute warm up that takes place after the player coach meeting. And again, we just don't want to give a team or players any kind of advantage over another participant in the tournament because they're actually on the site.
Question, Charlie. Is that expected also at the section level?
You know, I would say, Les, that unless it can be provided for all, that's just a really good rule or policy to follow.
Okay.
One of the great issues that we have dealt with, I would say ad nauseum over the course of this year, not just a tennis issue, but is sportsmanship and a lot of poor sportsmanship. And we have seen it from everybody. We've seen it from our players. We've seen it from fans. We've seen it from our officials. And so just want to make sure that as a point of emphasis, knowing that a lot of our tennis players have not been out and competing a lot yet, that we're working with our coaches to promote positive sportsmanship, that our kids are behaving properly, they're using appropriate language, they're not abusing tennis balls or the net or their racket, and that we do have a penalty point system in place that can be used. And I would say as tournament management, if you need to, use it. One of the things we talked about over the course of this winter is our officials in our winter activities. We stressed over and over and over again, use the tools available to you to assist in this quest. And so if at the site level, you need to use that point system to encourage the behavior that we expect, please feel free to do that. And it's only going to assist all of us in that endeavor. We do have a recovery rest rule. It applies to between two singles matches, and we need to offer a minimum rest period of 2 hours when we go to 2 out of 3, in which we go to 2 out of the 3 tiebreak sets. And so again, I just want to emphasize, it's not required, but it's offered. The intent of this rule is player safety. And we want to keep that at the forefront of what we do. Let's go back to a year ago. Do you remember how hot it was during our section and state tournaments? It was awful. And again, we want to make sure that we're erring on the side of safety. We want to make sure that we're offering those breaks. We also want to make sure we're monitoring athletes if we have that kind of heat. And while an athlete may say, no, I'm ready to play, if we know the circumstance warrant the full use of that recovery and rest rule, let's take that and let's make sure we're caring for our athletes and looking out for their well-being. Again, just know that could affect the the schedule of your tournament, especially when you're doing the individual tournament. You've got doubles mixed in there as well, and you may have to get creative in terms of how you assign courts if that applies to one or more of your players. And I think that leads us maybe into the next slide, Susie. No, the slide afterwards. If we jump here, when there are not enough courts to play all matches, it is our recommendation to play number 1 singles and 1 doubles last. So if you're having to roll matches out onto the court, and then also know that at the state tournament, when that outcome has been determined, team A has gotten to their 4th point. we use a super tiebreaker if any matches go to a third set. And the reason for that is we know the outcome has been decided, and it helps us with tournament management and staying within the time schedule for the duration of the tournament. So those tools are there for you to use as well in terms of managing that tournament. And then Susie, let's go back to 8. Just talk a little bit about suspension of play. And again, this is in rules or policies and your tournament manager's guide. But when weather interferes or you've extended your day to a place where you do not have lights and it's gotten too dark, if it gets too hot and there's health concerns for the athletes, just know that we're going to record the time and score, who was serving from which end, and we're going to, when play resumes, we're going to start from that point of suspension. Please make sure that everybody that's affected by that is in agreement that this is where we are. Make sure all of that information is confirmed and agreed upon, and then play can resume from that point of suspension. And if you have any questions as you get into that, we're certainly to help be a resource for you. Really kind of brings us to the end. Again, I want to honor your previous experience as tennis section managers. I want to honor the fact that all of this information is available to you, but we'll certainly stay here with the call open to take any questions from the group.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joe Boyer, and hi, Gund. I'm also I'm the chief official for the Class A state tournament, and I'm also the scheduler along with Doug Miller. If any of you should happen to want officials for your section matches. Just a couple of things to keep in mind, that we are a little shorthanded. We're getting better, but a little shorthanded. And if we're trying to honor everybody who asks for their semis and their finals day. So if those are on separate days, we're asked that you just ask for an official for your finals. But if your semis and your finals are on the same day, we're trying to honor every request. With that being said, the sooner that you ask, the more likely that you're going to receive an official. If you are one of the last ones and we're out of officials for that day, well, that we can't really invent somebody for you, but you can either contact myself or Doug Miller, and we'll get you going. So we do know, or Doug and I do know, that the first section match could be on May 16th through the 31st. So we are prepared for anybody to ask for officials. So with that, thanks for everybody for what you do, that's for sure.
Thank you, Joe. Any other questions or comments from our group?
Charlie, I'll reach out to Steve at Tennis Reporting and get an ETA on when he plans on sending those invites out. I know they were busy creating events. And I can email this group and just let them know when they should expect to see an invite from Tennis Reporting.
Great. Appreciate that, Susie.
Charlie, this is Kua over at Cone Park. Got a quick question, and maybe Rick has in or last the two tennis gurus. What is a official, if there's a standard like policy in terms of like contesting a lineup? I know that the lineup is due on the 9th and confirmed on the 9th, but let's say the lineup is submitted by 4 o'clock on Monday. Is there like a timeline that we need to follow, or is that kind of like done by individual sections differently?
Yeah, you're going to have the authority to manage that process as you want to, and just know that you're going to have that window from Wednesday at 4 until, I'm not looking at the
Friday at 4, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's Friday at 4. You're going to have that window to manage that process. And Rick, I don't know if you have comments on best practice, or if others of you on the call have found a good way to manage that process effectively. Let's share that, because that's going to make us all better.
this deals with section autonomy kind of stuff, so that's why there's no specific. The couple sections I worked last year, one section we did have some issues, and I know that it came down to individuals when they voted, and it was a majority decision that if the lineup was good or bad, and if it was majority, then we changed it.
In our sections that we ran down in 2A, we've used a process in which we will seed teams, obviously, prior to the, we will see the lineups, and we'll review the lineups, and we set a time and date in which review has to be done by. If there is a contention, each coach has to provide information as to why they're contending or how they defend. And then we ultimately rely upon the coach that is being contended to defer or to continue to say that they want to have that lineup. Ultimately, it will be a Google form type process that we do because we don't do this in person. So it is a virtual process here with a majority vote.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Kua.
Hi, Charlie, quick question. Prentice Smith over at Two Rivers. Just want to clarify, is it up to each region to move forward with a true second option, or is that a standard across the board that every region would play a true second?
I would say some do and some don't. Rick, do you think that's accurate?
Yep, that's a section thing also. Usually coaches kind of vote on it. I know our section, we vote on it, and it's something that's in place for a couple years. And then we'll revisit after a couple years and revote.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure, because I know that wasn't the case for the girls in the fall, that some sections played the true second and some did not. So I didn't know if there was just a standard across the board.
No.
I've got a question on,
Just hold on, Gundy. On this true second, if you do play it, it has to be played on the same day as the final. You can't put it off to the next day. That's one of the rules with it. Sorry, Gundy.
no, not a problem. I saw at the end of one of the handouts, ticketing in 2022. Can you guys mention anything about that? If that's going to be just at the state tournament or
Yes.
that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so, and I think this goes back, Gundy, to 2018 or 19, the board made a decision that it was going to ticket and charge admission for the boys and girls state tennis tournaments. So whatever you do at the section level is entirely up to you. We do not require you to manage tickets at that level. I know as a member of Region 8 AA, we didn't charge admission unless we went inside because of weather. And when we went inside, we charged admission because we were being charged, money to use that facility. So entirely up to you. We did charge admission this fall at the girls tennis tournament. It actually went really well. And just as a note, we also, in doing so, have to use two different ticketing platforms because when we are at the University of Minnesota with the AA schools, we're bound to use the Gopher Sports ticketing service. And then when we're at Intercity Tennis for Class A, we use our ticketing provider, which is Hometown Ticketing. But we will make sure we're communicating with qualifiers and qualifying schools about the ticketing process, and we'll have that information available on our website as well. Once those events get built, the opportunity to buy tickets will exist on our website as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I should make one other note too. We have had a sponsorship with Wilson for a number of years in tennis, and they have been the US Open extra duty tennis ball has been the ball of the state tournament. Well, Wilson notified us late fall, early winter, that because of supply issues, that they could no longer be our ball sponsor. So I'm telling you, use the best, most available, highest quality ball that you can for the tennis tournament. We think we've got a plan for the state tournament to provide a high quality ball. I'm not going to today guarantee that it's going to be a Wilson, but I'm going to guarantee that we're going to use one of the best tennis balls available for our participants. So just know that that's our reality, and we wouldn't pass down that expectation to you as section managers. Okay, so feel free to adjust as necessary in your tournaments.
When did that come up? Because I was lucky enough to find a couple cases of US Open balls for our tournament, and the reason why we do that, or I did that, is because that's the ball I thought they were going to play at the state tournament. So I figured, you know, this is the ball they're going to use, so they're used to it. So if there's
the contract, I think the contract was good through last year, but we still had tennis balls available because of the COVID year.
Yep.
And so we were able to get through the fall. And again, I'm not worried about getting tennis balls. We're going to probably have to pay for them, and we're going to have to use a couple of different providers to get them, rather than working with Wilson directly as a sponsor and them providing that for us for our state tournament.
Okay.
So it sounds like you're sitting on a pot of gold there, Gundy.
Yeah.
Highest bidder, highest bidder.
They weren't easy to find, to tell you
No,
the truth.
They've not been.
And all of our vendors are saying that very same thing.
And that started even last fall, I think, the supply chain issue with tennis balls.
As a referee of USTA tournaments, we're not finding any of them either anywhere. So
Yeah.
we're basically playing tournaments with whatever we can get our hands on.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Joel. Well, we're 8 minutes longer than I wanted to be. However, I feel those were 8 minutes well spent. I'm going to say thank you to all of you for the work you do. It's not easy. The tennis tournaments are long days. Lots of schedule adjustments on the fly, weather that doesn't always like to cooperate. But what you do is provide incredible opportunities for kids, a lifetime of memories. I've got two boys that played high school tennis. One just graduated, and I just know how incredibly important these are for kids, and you do great work to make it happen. So thank you. If you need help along the way, we're here to support you and assist you in running a great tournament. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.